Hi guys, this is the video for chapter 3, lesson 6. So what we're going to look at today is adding and subtracting unlike fractions. Up until this point, we have been working with fractions, with multiplying, dividing, and adding and subtracting. And our last lesson, we were looking at adding and subtracting like fractions. So what we're going to look at today is basically adding and subtracting fractions that don't have the same denominator. So for example, 4 over 7 plus 1 over 3. If we want to work this out and find the answer, remember our rules for adding and subtracting fractions is we have to have the same denominator. And so right here, because we don't have the same denominator, we've got to find what we call the common denominator. And so really the way we find it is by looking for the littlest common denominator, common multiple, I guess. So a number that both numbers can be divided into. So if I look at this, I think 21 is divisible by 7 and 3. So if I multiply 7 by 3, that becomes 21 on the denominator. And then if I multiply 1/3 by 7 over 7, that becomes 21 in the denominator. So what we have here now is 12 over 21 and 7 over 21. So our fractions, we can rewrite them as 12 over 21 plus 7 over 21. And then we can just add this like normal. So when we add it, we get 19 over 21. And I don't think we can simplify this, so this is our answer. Okay, what if we have negative numbers or even whole numbers in our fraction? So let's take a look at one where there's a negative and a whole number. Negative 5 and 5/6 plus 3 and 5/8. So the first thing we want to do, of course, when we're adding or subtracting fractions is we have to find a common denominator. So that is going to be our first goal. Now, one of the easiest ways of finding a common denominator is just multiplying each denominator by each other. So like 6, I would do 6 times 8 over 8. And for 8, I would do that times 6 over 6, this fraction times 6 over 6. But if I can think of a smaller number that is divisible by 6 and 8, then I would want to use that because then I have smaller numbers to work with. So what I realized is 24 is divisible by 6 and 8. So this would become -5. And I'm going to multiply everything by 4 to get 24 as my denominator. So 5 times 4 is 20. And then for this one, I can multiply everything by 3, right? So then I would have 24 on the bottom and then 15 on top. Now, because your whole numbers are just whole, like think of this as cutting them into different sizes of pieces. If you had like a pizza or something, you're cutting them into different sizes of pizza, but you still have 5 holes, or here we have -5 holes, 5 whole pieces of pizza. So we really don't need to change our whole number. Now, when we have a fraction like this, we can work it out like what we did before in our last lesson. So the big thing with this is to remember, if you've got a negative whole number in your fraction, that this negative actually belongs to everything inside. It belongs, you have -5 holes, but you also have -20 out of 24 as a fraction. So when we combine our whole numbers, that's a -5 plus 3. And then we've got a -20 plus 15. So don't forget to do that step. If this step here is confusing for you, turn everything into an improper fraction. Work it out like an improper fraction and just add it like that and then change it back into a proper fraction. It's not going to hurt you to do this. It might take a little longer, but you will still get the same answer. So here I would have negative 140, and right here I would have 87. And then I can add these two with a common denominator here. So I'd have negative 140 plus 87 over 24. And when I work that out, I have negative 53 over 24. Now, because this is an improper fraction, I want to change it back into a proper fraction. So let's jump back over here and see what we get, okay? Negative 5 plus 3 is negative 2. Negative 20 plus 15 is negative 5. And so it's still a negative fraction here. It's negative 2 and 5 over 24. Now over here, if I change this back into a mixed number, this would also become negative 2 and 5 over 24. That would be my answer. So see, either way you go, if you add your whole numbers first and then add your denominators, and then get your fraction there, or if you change it into an improper fraction so that you don't have to worry about just bringing in your negatives here, that's another way to go about it. So it's whatever you're comfortable with. So looking at your study guide, I think we have a few problems here. However, because there's not a lot of room on the study guide, I think I'm going to do these problems on the whiteboard, my little whiteboard feature that I have. But I would like for you to do some of these with me as well. So let's do 1, 4, 7, 10, and 13. We'll just do this whole column of fractions, and then we'll kind of see how that goes, okay? So you can pause the video and work those out if you'd like, or if you want to watch me do a few more, you can definitely still stay on here. So number 1 is 8 over 9 plus 2 over 5, okay? So common denominator here would be 45, I believe. And so if you need to write out what you're multiplying everything by, rewrite on a new step like this. Write it as 9 over 8 times 5 over 5 plus 2 over 5 times 9 over 9. Really what I'm doing here is I'm multiplying everything by 5 over 5, and I'm multiplying everything here by 9 over 9. And so when I work this out, 8 times 5 is 40. 9 times 5 is 45, right? 2 times 9 is 18 over 45. So what I have is 40 over 45 plus 18 over 45. Add my numerator, and that is 58 over 45. Of course, I want to change this to become a mixed number if possible. And so I think 1 whole comes out of that, and there's 45 out of 58. And then I'm left over with 13 pieces. So it's 1 and 13 over 45. Okay, number 4. So 1/6 plus negative 3/4. Okay, common denominator, I think 24 would work here. So I can multiply everything here by 4 over 4, multiply everything here by 6 over 6. And I've got 4 over 24 plus, I'm going to just keep my negative on the numerator. 3 times 6 is 18, negative 18 over 24. Now we're going back to what we did before. Just add your numerator, and then keep that denominator because you already have a common denominator. 4 plus negative 18 is negative 14. Can I simplify this? I believe so. I think everything can be divisible by 2. So reduce that divide it by 2. So the answer is negative 7 over 12. Okay, number 7. Got some whole numbers in here. 6 7/10 plus, negative 2 over 3. Okay, so let's think. Common denominator, I think 30 would work for this here. And so I've got 6 out of 6 and 21 out of 30 plus negative 20 over 30. All right. So if I do 6 plus 0 here, I still have a 6 as a whole number here. And then 21 plus negative 20 is just 1. So I have 6 and 1 out of 30. That was kind of a nice one to work with. Okay, number 10. 3 1/5 plus 2 3 over 4. So common denominator, I think 20 would work for both. And so that means I have to multiply everything here by 4 over 4. So I'd be 4 over 20 plus 2, and I have to multiply everything by 5. So this would be 15. 3 times 5 is 15. 4 times 5 is 20. And then I add, so I have 5 and 19 over 20. And I don't think I can reduce that. So 5 and 19 over 20. Okay, number 13. 7 4/9 plus 9 1/6. Okay, so 9 and 6, I think 18 goes into both. So instead of multiplying everything by 6 over 6 and 9 over 9 over here, I'm going to think of a smaller number that both can be divided by, and 18 works for me. So that means I'm going to multiply everything by 2 here and multiply everything by 3 here. So this is going to be 12 over 18 plus 3 over 18. Okay. Now 7 plus 9 is 16. 2 plus 3 is 15 over 18. Can I reduce this? I think so. Except for I have a weird answer here. Oh, I did something wrong, didn't I? 4 times 2 is not 12, it's 8. So 8 plus 3. 8 plus 3 is 11. So it's actually 16 and 11 over 18. There, that's better. Okay, I want to do a few with negatives because so far it looks like a lot of them we've done are positives. So let's do 11 and 14. Okay, so 11 and 14 on your study guide. So 7 and 5 over 6 plus negative 3 and 1/3. Okay, so here instead of multiplying everything here, multiplying 5, 6 by 3 over 3 and this by 6 over 6, I realize that 6 is divisible by 6 and 3. So I'm going to keep this the same and multiply all this by 2 over 2. Okay, so I have plus negative 3 and 2 over 6. Now I can add my whole number 7 plus negative 3 plus 5 plus, oh, this is a negative here because this negative belongs to everything, my whole number and my numerator. So I've got 4 and 3/6. And when I reduce, it becomes 1/2. The answer is 4 1/2. Okay, last one on this side, 14. Negative 7 1/2 plus negative 3 2/9. Okay, so I think 18 would go into both evenly. So the nice thing as I'm looking at this is a negative plus a negative is still a negative. So I'm going to keep that in mind as I do this. I'm going to multiply 1/2 by 9 over 9. This becomes 9. And then I've got 4 out of 18. And so I'm going to add -7 plus -3 is -10. -9 plus -4 is -13. But because this negative belongs to the whole fraction, I don't have to write my negative up here because this negative belongs to everything in the fraction. And so it's -10 and 13 out of 18. All right. Hopefully you guys are feeling comfortable with that. I can write down a few answers. Maybe I'll write down the answers of this column here since we didn't do any of them. If you want to practice, if you're confused, or if you're feeling like you need a little more practice, or just to check yourself, and then write the answers here so you can pause and then check. So if you are not feeling super comfortable, then do these practices. 25 over 20 there. Okay, let's look at subtraction now. So with subtraction, it's no different. The big thing that we have to do is find a common multiple to become the denominator. So let's just jump right in and do some practices. I'm gonna do 1, 2, and 3, and then we'll take a look at what else to do, okay? So 1, 2, and 3, here we go. 7 out of 15 minus 3 out of 10, okay? So here, it looks like a common multiple would be 30. So 15 times 2 is 30. 10 times 3 is 30. So I'm going to make this 14 out of 30 minus 9 out of 30 because I multiplied same number. Okay. Then 14 minus 9 is 5. 30, 5 over 30. Can I reduce this? I think everything's divisible by 5. So this becomes 1 out of 6. My answer is 1/6. Number 2, we've got some negatives involved. So what do we do when we have negatives? I've got -6 over 11 minus 6 over 11. So here's the nice thing is I've got a common denominator, which is kind of convenient. I don't have to change my denominator. But look at this as my denominator. Sorry, my numerator. -6 minus 6 plus the opposite. Okay, so this becomes -12 over 11. Let me change that into a mixed number. I've got -1 and 1 over 11. So my answer is still negative, but I have a -1 whole out of 1 out of 11 and 1 out of 11 as my answer. Okay, number 3. 13 out of 15 minus 2 out of 5. So I don't think I need to change 13 out of 15, but I do need to change this, and I think that becomes 6 out of 15. And when I subtract 13 minus 6 is 7. My answer is 7 out of 15 there. All right, let's do the next column there. So we'll just do, I'm trying to think what's a good one. I guess, well, let's do 5, 8, 11, and 14, because I do want to practice seeing these negative numbers, and I think most of these have a negative number in there. So 5, 8, 7, and 14. If you want to pause and work these out, you can. Otherwise, at least pause them and work them out before I work them all out. Okay, do one at a time. So number 5, -7 out of 9 minus 4 out of 5. So here, first things first is to find a common denominator. I think that 45 is my least common multiple. And so, don't know what I'm doing here. So I have to multiply all this by 5, multiply all this by 9. So this becomes negative 35 out of 45 minus 36 out of 45. Okay, because I'm multiplying everything here by 9. And so if I just simplify this to what I have in my numerator and then keep my denominator the same, what I've done before, then what I have here is negative 35 minus 36, but I'm going to add the opposite, and that becomes negative 71. Big number. Negative 71 out of 45. So now I have to divide 71 by 45 and see how many wholes come out of it. And really, I just have 1 that comes out of that, and that would be negative 1 with 26 remaining. And so that's out of 45, negative 1 and 26 out of 45. Okay, number 8, negative 2/5 minus 6/8. So I think 40 is the closest thing that goes into both. So I'm going to make this negative 2 times 8 is negative 16 out of 40 minus 30 out of 40. So if I look at this, I've got negative 16 minus 30 out of 40. So, ooh, where did my whiteboard go? Okay, so then I have negative 16 minus 30, add the opposite. So I have negative 16 plus negative 30. That becomes negative 46 out of 40. Can I get a whole number out of that? I think so. So let me take a whole out of this. I've got negative 1 and 6 out of 40. Can I reduce this? I think so too. Everything's divisible by 2. So that's 3 and that's 20. And so I have negative 1 and 3 out of 20. All right, guys, on your homework, please show me each step. This next problem I do, I'm gonna explain to you what I want to see on your homework when you're doing this on your paper. I know I've been going horizontally, but ideally you would show each step with each row going down. So number 11 here. Oh, we just did this one. Did we just do this one? No, we didn't. This is different. What am I looking at? This is a 6. Okay. 4 and 1/6 minus 3 and 1/8. Common denominator, I think 24 would work. So 4 and 4 out of 24 minus 3 and 3 out of 24. So when I subtract, 4 minus 3 is 1. 4 minus 3 again is 1. And so it's 1 and 1 out of 24. So see here how I'm going down. This is my first step. This is my second. And then that's my answer, right? And circling your answer. So this next one, number 14, I'm also going to show you the work that I want to see when you're doing this, okay? So negative 6 and 3/5 minus negative 2 and 1/4. So first step is to find my common denominator. Negative 6 and I think 20 would work. So this I have to multiply by 4, 12 out of 20 minus negative 2 and 5 out of 20. Now I'm going to subtract negative 6 minus negative 2 as my whole numbers, and then negative 12 minus negative 5. Be very careful here. This negative goes into my whole number and my numerator. Don't forget about that. and that's out of 20. Okay, so -6 minus -2, two-stroke method, adding the opposite. That's -4. Two-stroke method here, that would be -7. So I've got -4 and 7 over 20 as my answer. Okay. I think that's all I'm going to do with you on this video, but if you want to do some more practice and find the answers, I'll write the answers for this column here, 6, 9, 12, and 15. So number 6 is going to be 19 over 24. Number 9 is -1 over 20. And then number 12 is 8 and 2/9. Number 15 is 16 and 1/2. Those are the answers there. So if you want to do those for a little more practice, you can check your work and see how you got that. Okay, that's all I have for you guys. This is the last lesson of chapter 3. So we are going to have a review day, and then it's going to be the chapter 3 test. Practice, practice, practice. You've got a lot of rules. You're remembering those, adding and subtracting, multiplying, dividing, negatives. They're not going away. We're still seeing them. So practice those some more, okay? Especially now with the fractions.